Hey guys, let's get more news about Steelers, but first, don't forget to subscribe and leave your like. Insider wouldn't be surprised if one Steelers QB gets extended before season. The Pittsburgh Steelers have been busy addressing their quarterback situation during the 2024 NFL offseason. They have added two potential starters in Justin Fields and Russell Wilson and even brought in a new third QB in Kyle Allen. None of them are currently under contract past the 2024 season. It looks like that could change before the season begins. In a chat for the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, Jerry Dulac was asked if the Steelers would work on the contract situations for Wilson or Fields before the season begins. He said the team won't be working on a deal for Wilson until next offseason, but he wouldn't be surprised if they got something done with Fields. They won't during the season. They'll revisit Wilson after the season. That is the intention of both parties. I wouldn't be surprised if they did something sooner with Fields. The Steelers are set at QB for the 2024 season. Whether it's Fields or Wilson that is the starter next season, the Steelers are going to be getting better play out of the position than they did in 2023. From there, things get a bit murky. Wilson is coming off of two of the toughest seasons of his career and is currently 35 years old. That makes it difficult to try and plan a team's future around him. Meanwhile, Fields has had struggles of his own during his 3 years in the league and is only under contract until the end of the 2024 season. The team could decide to pick up the fifth-year option on his contract, but with just under a month left to make that decision, it seems unlikely that is the path they will take. With no QB currently under contract for the Steelers beyond next season, it makes a lot of sense for the Steelers to get an extension for Fields done before the season begins. Fields has been far from a perfect QB since making the jump to the NFL, but he is probably the best option the Steelers have right now. Fields has been inconsistent throwing the ball over the last 3 years, but he has still shown that he is a dynamic threat at QB. He ran for 1,143 yards in 2022 and averaged just over 50 rushing yards per game in 2023. Fields has also shown some improvement throwing the ball from year to year. More importantly, the Steelers just aren't going to have many other options. We saw what happened when Ben Roethlisberger retired. The team got desperate and drafted Kenny Pickett in round 1. If they leave themselves without a QB after 2024, they could once again find themselves getting desperate again in the 2025 draft. Unfortunately, the Steelers are a good enough team that they probably aren't going to be set up to get one of the top QBs in next year's draft. That would leave them once again needing to decide if they are going to reach on a prospect just to fill the need. Instead, they could give themselves a fighting chance with Fields and work out a deal that is more team-friendly than whatever they might have to agree to if Fields becomes their starter in 2024 and looks good for them. It's not a perfect situation for the Steelers to be in, but working out an extension for Fields while his value is low is a move that could work out very well for the organization. You mad, bro? Readers bristle at criticism of Russell Wilson from Seattle, idea of Dak Prescott in Pittsburgh next year. As always, this week's You Mad, Bro? Relies on meat and potatoes, Pittsburgh Steelers quarterback debates and Penguins trades. But we also branch out to some uncharted territory, concert bookings, World War II history, and, even more foreign of a concept, the NBA. Never accuse my readers and listeners of failing to get creative. Andrew did not like the podcast I did about Russell Wilson with Seattle sports media personality Ian Furness. Well, Andrew, as a current journalist, I'm amazed that a former journalist doesn't understand that fans may be interested to know about the background of their new quarterback from another current journalist who covered him for 10 years. I'm also amazed that a former journalist thinks this current journalist's job is to be writing/saying things like "Welcome to the Berg, Russ." As if I work for the team's website or something. I'm getting the impression that you might be a former journalist because you don't understand the difference between journalism and public relations. Delta Blues wasn't a fan of the interview either. If you listen to the content, the situations were not unknown, and it doesn't appear that Furness had to strive very hard. Deeren had some thoughts about the notion of Jake Gensel re-signing in Pittsburgh once he gets to free agency. If you're Jake Gensel, why would you want to go back to Pittsburgh to play for an old team? Of course, Sid is an all-time great, but the team isn't going to compete for another 3 to 5 years. Jake playing for a young, competitive and hungry team like Carolina makes all the sense in the world for not only him, but the Hurricane organization. Deeren, my guess is that Gensel will go to whatever team gives him the most guaranteed money over the most guaranteed years possible. If that team is young and competitive, even better. But to your point about the Penguins, I agree. I would consider him returning here a long shot, even if they made him a competitive offer. Sean replied to the conversation I had on 105.9 The X about the Sports and Exhibition Authority fan survey they launched regarding the feasibility of bringing a WNBA and/or NBA team to Pittsburgh. They could figure that out. Madison Square Garden in New York, TD Garden in Boston, the Xcel Energy Center in Minnesota and Capital One Arena in Washington all get concerts and shows while housing NBA and NHL teams. What they may not be able to figure out here is how to drum up enough corporate dollars, television advertising sponsors, and interested season ticket buyers in Pittsburgh. Report: ship has sailed on Tyler Boyd to the Steelers. It's no secret that the Pittsburgh Steelers have a canyon-sized hole at receiver. The current roster of receivers is comprised of George Pickens, Calvin Austin, Van Jefferson, Quez Watkins, Denzel Mims, Marquez Callaway, Des Fitzpatrick, Keelan Harris, and Deuce Watts. It goes without say that outside of Pickens, there isn't a starting caliber player on the roster. Pittsburgh had been linked to free agent receiver Tyler Boyd, but it appears that a deal won't get done. According to Mark Kaboly of The Athletic, Boyd to Pittsburgh is now unlikely. I would say that it would be a long shot, at best, that the two sides come together, Kaboly writes. From what I have been told, Boyd was extremely interested in Pittsburgh at the beginning of the free agency process, but the offer wasn't something he was comfortable with. Boyd has at least had preliminary interest from the Chiefs, Chargers, Dolphins, Lions, and 49ers. I am pretty sure the ship with the Steelers has sailed. Outside of Boyd, there are few names available that would move the needle. Hunter Renfrow is the best free agent receiver on the market. Other names include Odell Beckham Jr., Michael Gallup, and Michael Thomas. And you, fan, what do you think of the situation of Tyler Boyd? Leave your opinion in the comments.